we're going to study about the basal ganglia. Yesterday we studied about the general features of our cerebrum. Now we're going to study about the basal ganglia or the basal nuclei. What is a basal nuclei? Basal nuclei is basically a collection of gray matter that is present within the white matter. So this collection of gray matter that is present within the white matter is known as the basal nuclei or the basal ganglia. And it is basically divided by a group of nerve fibers that is called as your internal capsule, this one. So this internal capsule, this part you can see this shaded area, this is the internal capsule which divides the basal nuclei into its two forms. One is known as your caudate nuclei and number two is the lentiform nucleus. And there are also different types of basal nuclei which will include your corpus stratum, which is consisting of your caudate and your lentiform nucleus. Number two is the amyglenoid nuclei, and number three is the claustrum. Let us start with our cuneate nucleus, the caudate nucleus. The caudate nucleus, it is a type of your corpus stratum. It is present lateral to that of your thalamus and it is closely related to that of the left ventricle. And now this caudate nucleus, it is separated from your lentiform nucleus by the presence of an internal capsule. Now coming to our lentiform nucleus. As you can see, the lentiform nucleus is somewhat wedge shaped and it is consisting of two borders. One is a convex border of the base and number two is the blade. The blade is facing medially whereas the convex border is facing laterally. Medially, it is separated from that of the caudate nucleus by the internal capsule. Laterally, you have the external capsule which is separating it from your colostrum. And the colostrum, it separates your external capsule from your insula. That was about your lentiform nucleus. Then we have the of your basal ganglia, that is the amyglenoid nucleus. Amyglenoid nucleus, this is the temporal lobe of the brain. It is present in the temporal lobe with closely related to another structure not clear in this book. You can see in your atlases, that is the uncus. So closely related to the uncus in the temporal lobe is your amyglenoid nucleus. It will not generate it up to the cerebral cortex and will then pass a descending pathway back for the action to be taking place. But if it is important, the brain has to be involved, then thalamus will impulse has been generated. It passes from our spinal cord up to medulla, then from the medulla to our pons, and from there to the midbrain, from midbrain to the thalamus. Now it is up to the thalamus. If the information is not that is most important, that is the thalamus region. The thalamus is also called as a dicephalon because it was embryologically developed from it. It plays an important role in our pathway sensation. Whenever from it not towards it, you will see that there is an insula of white matter present in it. So that was about it. Then we have another structure outside the lateral border of your lentiform nucleus separated from the external capsule. And lateral to it, when you go more to away from the brain, more away from the colostrum. The last of the basal nuclei is the claustrum. We already know that you can see here, I'll show it clear, this one. This is the claustrum. It is a thin sheet of gray matter which is present is the thalamus, and like the information that is coming to the thalamus is not so much important, so it will mean by descending tract it will send the impulse to the spinal cord so that the action could be performed by the muscles. But if it is more important, the thalamus will send these impulses up into the cerebral cortex so that further information can be done and the brain can become aware of what is it. And it is then the cerebral cortex which then by means of descending tract will send the impulses down from the cortex into the thalamus, from thalamus into your midbrain, from midbrain into pons, from pons to medulla oblongata, finally into your spinal cord, and from spinal cord it will go and affect the muscles to perform the desired function. Next is the outer matter of the cerebrum comprising of the gray matter. And there is this gyrus which is separating, that is the central gyrus. In front of the central gyrus you have the postcentral gyrus and behind you have the postcentral gyrus. Precentral gyrus is basically associated with our motor function, the post with our sensation, and between the post and pre you have the association area. Now, in order to make this clear for you, let us give you an example. Before starting with the example, let's study the different lobes and which different cortex they're gonna do it. Your frontal lobe, it is basically concerned with your decision making. Whenever there's some sort of decision, then it goes into the somatosensory cortex that is present in the frontal lobe. Whenever there is something related with touching, then it is your parietal lobe cerebral cortex and that has been working in order. And your occipital lobe cortex, whenever there's some sensory stimulation. Now we're going to sensation of vision, and your temporal lobe is required for your sensation of your hearing and sight. Now, when a newcomer comes in your room, right, first of all, your sensation will be generated. It will be the source of stimulus. It will go and generate your somatosensory cortex that is located. Then it will send those impulses to the association fiber where it is going to recognize whether we know that person or not. And then, according to that recognition, association fiber will send that type of impulse to our pre-central gyrus, where then the motor will respond. If we know it, we'll be like, oh, hi, hi. If we don't know it, we will be like, gonna make a friendship. That is all the three parts of the parcel. I hope this will help you guys understand.